It's Kevin McCullough, AFA Today from New York. Tomorrow I'll be home in the deep south. Brent, do you have a bowl of grits waiting for me with a little cheese, a little butter, salt, and pepper? That's all I need. Did it just rain in your mouth when I said that? I'll even put a little Tabasco in there from time to time, just to keep it shuffled. But I can't get grits in New York. So we've got to go home for Share-A-Thon every now and then. If nothing else, just to eat the grits. And we're going to have a great time. We're going to be hearing stories from people over the next 4 days that have had their lives changed because of this radio network. And I want to know from you if you've given, why. Real quickly, let me talk with Linda, calling from West Virginia. Hi, Linda. You're up next on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm glad to be here. I just called to let you know that I will be giving, and the reason I'm giving is because you are my voice. The radio, AFA, is my voice. You believe what I believe, and you all hold true to everything that I believe in, and I thank God for all of you.
Well, we're grateful that you're there, Linda. Thank you. And again, if people want to get started early on Share-A-Thon, the link at AFR.net is the little donate link. It's at the top of the page. You have to kind of look all over the page to find it, or I did. I felt like an idiot. I asked Jim Stanley, where's the link? I couldn't find it, and then it's right at the top. But it says donate. You just click there, and you can give online. Let's talk to Hugh in West Virginia. Hello, Hugh. You're up next with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Hello, Kevin. I won't be giving to AFR this year.
I figured as much.
Because I have some self-respect. And your question was, if AFR weren't here, what would happen? And my response is,
well, your life would end in utter boredom at that moment, Hugh, because for some reason, even though you hate everything we do, you yourself are an addictive AFR user. You listen to us every day.
I listen to you because you're good for a laugh every now and then.
Yeah.
And
so see, we're extending your life by even bringing comedic relief for you.
Oh, yeah, and as far as your thing about losing religious freedom has never included discriminating against people in public accommodations. So you're not losing any. And I think Christians should have to look over their shoulder and peek around corners for a while, just like gays had to for decades and decades.
Really? People, they had to look around their shoulder and look over their shoulder and look around corners?
Because well, first of all, crooked cops.
Why? Were they having sex in the road, Hugh? Were people coming and trying to attack them while they... Then how did people know?
They couldn't even go to a gay bar without crooked cops raiding the bar.
God forbid we not allow gay bars to be profitable. Let me ask you, Hugh, how would a person walking down the street know that you're a gay man?
They wouldn't know I am, but other people that look a little effeminate, and all you had to do was look the least bit effeminate, and you'd be beat up.
Well, I'm not sure that's true. I've known a lot of effeminate heterosexual males that never got beat up. I mean, I'm not saying that there haven't been people that got this wrong. There have been, but it's not Christians that were perpetrating that.
No, yes, it is. Yes, it has been. That's exactly my point.
Who's a prominent Christian voice? Hold on, Hugh. Who's a prominent Christian voice that has advocated for the inhumane treatment of homosexuals?
They don't come out and say, let's go out and beat up gays. No, but they don't say anything about it when it happens. That's not true. And they treat. I'm talking about in the past.
Okay, give me an example. Matthew Shepard, the Matthew Shepard case. Is that what you wanted? I remember some Christian groups issuing press statements. I happened to work in news at the time. I remember some Christian groups issuing press statements that no matter how they felt about the issue of homosexuality and how it was infiltrating the political and public policy circles, that the Matthew Shepard killing was still a tragedy. Oh, and by the way, it turned out to be a complete fraud, that it was some sort of hate crime. But nobody's gone back and told that story.
Well, because that's not true. Sandy Rios tried to bring up that lie, and that's exactly what it was.
Hugh, there's been exhaustive research that has now demonstrated that Matthew Shepard was in fact a meth dealer, and one of the guys that beat him to death was one of his romantic entanglements, and it all surrounded a deal that went bad.
And
it wasn't a couple of Christian guys from some Bible study down the street that took him out and lashed him to death. It was a fellow homosexual, and it involved a drug deal that went very bad.
And who did all this research? FRC? Family Research?
No, an independent journalist that started following the story about 2 weeks after it occurred. It took him this many years to get the book together. It's a best-selling book now. You can go see it for yourself.
Well, I went through it. I didn't get beat up because I hit back if somebody bothered me. So I didn't.
Hugh, the problem here, Hugh, is that you're under this impression.
There
Go
were
ahead.
many gays that were beat up, and I know what I'm talking about because all the preachers back then did not come out against anything like that.
You cannot. I defy you to show me one sermon in print, one preacher somewhere that said we approve of you going out and beating and abusing homosexuals.
I'm saying that they didn't come out against it. I'm not saying that any preacher, even now, I mean, Robert
do you want preachers? Okay, do you want preachers to preach every week about the immorality of armed robbery and theft and murder? I mean, an occasional sermon hitting it probably does occur, but they don't address it every single week.
Even now, I can hear the contempt that people on your radio program, or not your program, but your station, have for gays. Beginning with Brian Fisher,
well, Hugh, take that up with Brian. That's between Hugh. That's between you and Brian. This is you and me talking here. And here's the bottom line. You have to throw kerosene on all that other stuff around, because at the core of what I said, it's 100% true. There isn't a genetic cause that you woke up one day and said, "Oh, because I have this gene, I'm attracted to that. I got to have sex with that guy over there." That never happened.
There's not a genetic cause then for straightness either. So
yes, there is, Hugh. It's called norms. And heterosexual behavior is a genetic norm. It is how the human race procreates and reproduces itself.
Then if norms can be genetic, then so can aberrations be genetic.
No, I don't think heterosexual is a genetic thing. I'm not saying heterosexual sex is a genetic thing. What I'm saying is that there are behavioral norms, and we all learn them. And for whatever reason in your life, you didn't. You went another way. Maybe someone abused you. Maybe someone did something very early in life.
Are not necessarily right.
I'm sorry?
Just because there is a norm
right.
that everybody thinks is normal.
I agree with that.
Necessarily make
I agree
it right.
with that. But in the context of what we're talking about here, those who have a faith understand that God created us with certain systems in our body, our nervous system, our pulmonary system, our breathing system. Oh, and by the way, our reproductive system. And what was the purpose of that? We have had it understood that it is impossible for a reproductive system to work with a man and another man. That doesn't work. The reproductive system works when it's male and female. And God said in Scripture, which I know you have disdain for, but that's still important to us, and that's why it's important to this conversation. Scripture says it's best when one man and one woman refrain from all other sexual activity except with each other for the rest of their life as a commitment to Him.
Well, if you believe that, then you should do that. But you
well, that's what we do.
But you shouldn't.
But Hugh, the problem is with your activists in New Jersey, you're now creating for the entire state of New Jersey. The activists there are creating an environment where I will not be allowed to teach my children that if I live in that state.
That's not true.
You wait and see.
Well, it's not true now, and there's nothing.
Would you consider that? Hugh, would you consider that a hateful thing for me to teach my sons that homosexual behavior is immoral?
I think that Christianity...
Answer my question. Would you believe that to be a hateful thing for me to do?
I think it's child abuse to teach any child Christianity, period.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugh. I knew that we would get it out of you at some point. I appreciate your call. I knew. Okay, yes. It's hateful to teach children Christianity. And friends, here's what you've just seen. This is just laid out for you. I'm so glad you called. Hugh is the way the mainstream thinks. AFA has to be here for if nothing else, to be the alternative voice in that discussion. And I've said for the last 6 months, the newfound constitutional right in America is my right to have sex with who I want. The actual established constitutional right that is now under attack because of that is the right to believe the way I wish to believe. He would say, no, you can believe whatever you want. No, if I really believe Christianity, then I live Christianity. It's expressed in how I deal with other people. It's expressed in how I raise my kids and conduct my business and live my life in my community and serve in my church and whatever else. If I actually believe something, then there's actions that come with that. And someone else's right to have sex and not be criticized is now the new constitutional right that wishes to limit me from believing, hence teaching, hence living what I actually do believe. So while Hugh is on a rampage to shut down the faith that I believe and his desire for me not to give it to my kids, because as you just heard him say, he believes that's child abuse, there has to be a brick wall here somewhere where you say, no further, no more. Hugh, I love you. I hope Jesus gets a hold of your heart at some point in time. I hope that all of your hours of listening to AFR don't go in vain. I hope that the love of Jesus breaks through. In fact, Hugh, I've prayed for you. You used to call in on the Baldwin McCullough show, and you actually had a little bit of affection for Stephen and I. And I know that there's a certain degree of spiritual sense that you've chosen to ignore, even though you felt it. But at the end of the day, the welfare of my kid trumps your desire to have sex and not criticize me. So I'm sorry, I'm going to fight for the right to believe in the moral order that God constructed and for the right to teach that to my children. And that's the summation of where we're at as a society. I mean, it's really true, friends. There isn't anything in between. Those are the two extremes now, what Hugh said and where I'm at. And AFR is a voice that allows thousands of people to access information that the media would shut down because they believe the way Hugh believes. 888-589-8840. Let's talk to John in North Carolina. John, thanks for your patience. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
You know, with the in regards to the last caller, it's just nowhere in the Bible does it say, it's okay to hate anyone. Jesus Christ teaches us that we should love, obviously, even our enemies. So just wanted to get that out of the way. But I do listen to AFR regularly every day. I drive for a living, so I really appreciate what you guys do. Ever since I moved here to Jacksonville, it happened like this. I prayed one day because I used to have trouble listening to, bad music on the radio and whatnot. But I prayed that something would come along, and that's when I found AFR. So I will be giving you guys this year this Share-A-Thon. I just really am appreciative of what you guys do.
John, we're appreciative of you, and just to know that it's made that impact on your life makes everything we've done worthwhile. So thank you for your kind words. 888-589-8840. Let's talk to Terry calling from Texas. Hi, Terry.
Hey, good afternoon.
So glad you're here. What's on your mind?
Well, there's a lot on my mind, but we only have a short time. I have been listening to you now for quite a few years. God took His good grace to save me last year from something that happened in the hospital that wasn't anybody's fault but the doctor, and I spent 2 months in the hospital and them telling my wife I was going to die. But through the grace of God and my wife and in prayer, I was saved. And I thank God for that every day since then.
Amen.
I guarantee it. As far as what's going about right now these days, it's got me upset so bad that I just can't figure out why this country is letting the small minority groups take over and destroy our Constitution of the United States, and that includes our president. We have never in our entire history of the United States of America has had somebody come into office with the point of doing things that is totally opposite of what this country stands for. And I can't figure it out. I think God saved me to see what's going to happen in the near future. I think that all my heart is what happened. And I'm trying to figure out in my heart, in my mind, why that the rest of the world and the rest of the United States is bowing down to such a small group of people all the way around and letting them just walk all over top of us.
Terry, the answer is found partly in 2 Timothy chapter 4, where Paul said in the final days, in the last days, dangerous, perilous times are going to come. Times when men love pleasure rather than loving God. Knowing the truth of what to do and choosing not to do it. There's a great deception Thessalonians talks about that God will allow to come on people that choose to reject him. We're in troubling times, but it doesn't mean that the voice of the church or of the believer is any less needed. In fact, it's more so now than ever before. So as we kick off Share-A-Thon tomorrow, friend, I'm hoping and prayerful that you will be considering even now what you can do to help ensure that AFR is here for people for years to come, even the likes of you, who I'll pray for even this afternoon as we are signing off. Kevin McCullough, thanking you. Hopefully see you from the Tupelo home base tomorrow as AFA Share gets underway. Brian Fisher's next, Focal Point. I'm Kevin McCullough. Have a great afternoon.